Welcome to Never Again is Now, a podcast about anti-Semitism. I'm Evelyn Marcus.
And I am Phyllis Zimbler Miller.
Many people agree that educating young people about anti-Semitism is important to combat the rising anti-Semitism today. Yet, often this information is not presented to young people in an engaging manner. Today, we speak with a high school digital media instructor about his summer school internship project. He worked with students to produce their own short documentaries on anti Semitism. Brian Erlich is the digital media instructor at South Elgin High School, northwest of Chicago. He's also the advisor to the Student Digital Media Beacon Club. Let's now talk about young people getting into the weeds in anti-Semitism documentary projects. Welcome to our show.
Okay, Brian, can you give us some background on the 19 students who participated in the program and the student body of in general, of the U46 school district?
Yeah, so in general, U46, it's the second largest school district in Illinois, second to Chicago. It's a wide range of different demographics. There's a lot of whites, Hispanics, Black, just a lot of races and cultures, which is fantastic. In terms of the summer internship course, most of the students were white. There were some Hispanic, some Black, but all the students were not Jewish. And I think that's the most important thing to know about this project, is that none of the students were Jewish, but yet they chose to be part of this class that they knew was going to be about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism and those kind of topics.
And what was the knowledge level of these students about anti-Semitism? Now, they're high school students, right? What was the
Correct.
knowledge before the program started?
Some students knew some about the Holocaust since they had been a part of our Holocaust documentary project during the school year. Some others, in U46, it is mandatory that they learn about the Holocaust, I believe, during junior year. But most of the students were going to their sophomore year, so they haven't had the Holocaust a unit in school yet. So most of them had heard about it, but hadn't really known much about it. They probably knew like what the Holocaust was, but I think a lot of students didn't really realize the extent that anti-Semitism still happens today. They kind of thought that, oh, well, the Holocaust was in the 1940s, and there might be still some things here and there, but overall things are better. So I think the students learned that that's not the case.
And as this project grew out of the January 2023 project, what were they required in this summer project to do? What did they come in knowing that they had to complete?
Yeah, so when Phyllis, you and I first started talking about the course and planning for it, originally our plan was that they were going to they're each going to choose someone from the Holocaust to do a documentary on, whether it was a survivor, a perpetrator, or someone involved like that, a savior. But as I was planning and thinking about the course, I thought more about how these students, they're not Jewish. So I thought they might not connect as well with the Holocaust in general. I mean, I'm sure they would have been engaged, but I don't think they would have been as invested in a project where it was something about that happened in the 1940s when they're not Jewish. And so I remember that you and Evelyn did a podcast about Zachary Singerman, who was the founder of Gen Z Jews. And I thought more about that and how like there are people that are currently fighting anti-Semitism that a lot of people don't know about. And so I came to the idea that why don't I have the students choose a group or a person that's currently fighting against anti-Semitism. In that way, I feel like it was more relevant for the students. Like it was tangible. Like they could actually speak with the people that are engaged in this work. And so their job was to find a group, a nonprofit or a company, or even just a person, and what they're doing to fight the spread of anti-Semitism.
Got it.
And how did the students, Brian, find their group? How did they reach out to the people they interviewed? How did they find out who was doing the activism they would like to make a documentary about?
Yeah, so before the class started, I came up with a list of a few. Obviously, Zachary Sigerman, speaking with Phyllis, she mentioned you, Evelyn, and your partner Rosa as possible topics. So I did have a list of a few people and a few groups that they might want to investigate. But the first day of class, I told them, I gave them some time. I gave them about half hour, 45 minutes. Just do a search on Google. Find people, find groups that you are passionate about, that are doing this work. And so most of them just found them on Google, Wikipedia, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, social media sites. And so that's how they found them. Some of them did go with people on the list that I found, but I'd say probably half found people on their own. And some of the people I reached out as like a first contact, just say like, would you be willing to speak with the students about this? But some other students just took it upon themselves. They DM'd them on Twitter and sent them emails. And they did their own research to find their emails, to find their contact info, to get in touch with them.
Do you know who they found? Do you have some names for us?
Yeah, so obviously Zachary Sigerman, you, Evelyn and Rosa, as I mentioned. Some of the other people that they found, Siavosh Durakti, who is the founder of Young People Against Anti-Semitism and Xenophobia, who started this nonprofit work in Sweden. So the students found him, they found his contact and info. They worked with Dov Foreman, who is an author. He wrote a book about his great-grandmother who survived the Holocaust. What else do I got here?
Can I just say something while Brian's checking this?
Yeah.
The person he mentioned in Malmö, Sweden, which we know is a hotbed of anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
the interview was amazing. And these students found people that you and I, Evelyn, haven't yet interviewed or don't know about. And I just want to emphasize, they talked to them. They actually interviewed, thanks to Zoom. And some of the projects they did individually and some they did on teams, right, Brian? So this was, okay. Like, okay, keep going. But the person in Sweden was amazing.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure.
Wait, did we say that he was a Muslim? Did we get that part in, that he was?
You should have mentioned that he's a Muslim, and also the fact that he was named to Forbes magazine's top 20 business people of I think it was like 10 years ago or something like that. So he's a big deal in his field. And so the fact that like we found him and we got to talk to him was really powerful.
And who else do you want to mention? With
Keshet, which is a nonprofit group that focuses on supporting Jewish LGBTQ youth and people. So that was one that a student just chose themselves because they're passionate about that topic, and they found how that group is currently doing work to help fight hate.
Is that group about LGBT rights or about Jewish rights within the LGBT movement, where Jews
Yeah,
often get a hard time in
good
with
question.
being Jewish or for Israel or something like that.
Yeah, so their focus is on Jews. So it's Jews who identify as LGBTQ. So I know they do a lot of work where they go into synagogues, schools, and things like that to try to make sure that Jewish spaces that are already set up are safe for these people.
Yeah, that's interesting because, and I think necessary because I heard, for instance, about LGBT marches where um, some people were walking with, were waving a rainbow flag with a Star of David in it to, as proud gay or LGBTQ plus Jews, and then they were asked by the by the march management or organization leadership
Mhm.
to leave because some people felt uncomfortable with the Star of David,
Hmm.
and
I
so they
mean,
had to leave. So um, as a reaction to that, I live in West Hollywood, which is a gay area, and there is a Jewish gay organization there called
Mhm.
JQ. And
Okay.
as a reaction to this incident, they hung proudly a rainbow flag out of the window with a Star of David in it.
Very cool.
Yeah, but so sometimes it clashes with Jews within the LGBTQ movement. Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. And I was really happy that one of the students chose this. I was hoping that one of the students would choose this because it's a topic that I'm very passionate about and that like I work to support. And yeah, it's like one of those things where like not only do they face hate as Jews, but they also might face hate because of their gender identity or sexuality or things like that, and um, they might face them in different places or in the same place, like at a temple or a synagogue. So yeah, it was. It's they do some powerful work.
great.
I'm going to put in a plug right now to
Yeah,
say that after the students finished, and they did this work within 4 weeks, which was
or
amazing.
wait.
We had in Elgin, there was an in-person screening. I zoomed in, and Brian and his students put together an entire documentary, which we will be submitting to film festivals. And because this information is amazing. And in fact, someone at the screening was from the Chicago Jewish Film Festival. And she's the one that she's right away said, I'd love to show this. And she said, especially because I understand who the students are. These are not students, and not only are they not Jewish, but having grown up in that town, they don't have Jewish friends. I mean, not because they don't talk to Jews, because there just aren't that many Jewish kids in Elgin. So the range of the subject matter is so important for others to see. So I just want to give Brian and his students a big kudo.
No, yeah, and I should have mentioned that a lot of the students, I don't think many of the students have ever even been in a synagogue before. I know with our project that we did during the school year, there was one student who told me she was like, "This is my first time going into a synagogue when we went to Knesset,
Israel.
Israel, right?" Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's incredible that not only these students like chose to be a part of this, but they actually like were engaged and invested in this project to not only learn about this work, but how to fight hate against Jews.
So what were some more of the reactions to when they did all this investigation?
Yeah, so because it was only 4 weeks long, we didn't really have enough time to do some like recap at the end, get their opinions. So I sent out a Google form asking them some questions about their reactions and how they felt about the course. And one of the questions I asked in the Google form was, as someone who is not Jewish, how do you feel being a part of this project? And so there's a few responses here that I just want to like read straight from the paper. One student said, "It felt good, it felt right in a way. Being able to stand up where I can and be part of such an important project also feels rewarding." Another student said, "I felt very honored to take part in such a momentous time in history, and I looked at this project with pure curiosity of the culture that I do not take part in, but was and am excited to learn more about." And finally, one more said, "It felt great. Even though I'm not Jewish, I still feel some kind of requirement to get educated on the situation." So these students not only felt good about doing it, but they felt like it was almost like a duty that they felt like they had to do this, which was not something that I expected to happen.
And Brian, so what is the success formula, you think, to get students so engaged? Students who have no natural connection, so to speak, to the subject of anti-Semitism, and
Yeah.
yet you got them so involved. What is the success formula, you think?
I think the biggest thing is giving them a chance to choose a topic that they're passionate about. So like the one student who is passionate about LGBTQ, they chose Keshet. A student who is very proud about her Hispanic heritage, did her project about the Hispanic Jewish experience and how they're fighting hate. And so that I think that's the biggest thing, is finding a way to make it engaging and important in their own life, that they can see, oh, even though I'm not Jewish, I still see where this is happening, and I connect with it in that way.
Yeah.
It's
So stay close to the experience of the students themselves and take it from there in the direction to studying anti-Semitism in the
Exactly.
documentary. Okay.
Yeah.
but also 19 students signed up for this. And just to be clear, the school district was so behind it, they paid to have Brian be the digital media instructor. The kids did not pay tuition. They get school credit. Still, 19 kids chose to spend, 5 hours a day for 4 weeks in school after just finishing the school year on a topic that did not really touch them until they started to learn about it. So how do you, is it, well, first of all, Brian is a terrific digital media instructor in person. So that probably helped. But seriously, a lot of them were in Beacon Club. They knew you already, but still to spend 4 weeks doing this, they knew it was going to be on a Jewish topic. Let's be clear here. Why did they say yes?
I think a lot of them first signed up and said yes because they wanted to get experience with digital media and making a documentary. And I know some of them had been involved with our Holocaust project during the school year, and so some already had been working with that. But I think most of them just wanted the experience of making a documentary with a producer, with Phyllis as our producer. And I think just the topic itself was just another added bonus. And like I said, even though they weren't Jewish, and at the beginning they may not have known the extent that Jews face hate, at the end they knew, and they knew that it didn't end in the Holocaust. It's still going on now, and it's still a huge problem.
At the end of the project, did these young people have a good understanding of what anti-Semitism is?
Yeah, so again, one of the questions I asked in my Google form was, what did you learn about anti-Semitism as a result of your research? One student said, I learned about the true extent of how bad it is, how bad it really got and is becoming again. One said, the background and horrific stories caused by anti-Semitism, as well as its definitive definition and its continuous spread, as well as impact today. How common it is, The students said, wow, I couldn't imagine how much Jewish people still go through. You would think it all ended after World War II, but wow, that was eye-opening. And another student said, it seems that online it has gotten worse. So yeah, I know one student who is passionate about social media. He found a nonprofit called FOA, Fighting Online Antisemitism. And so that group focuses on hate that's taking place online, and how to help like report those and help fight those. So yeah, the students, it really opened their eyes to what Jews face today.
I think that's a great result. Um, could this is this only for your school, or could this be rolled out somehow to other students?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could definitely be rolled out anywhere. Just giving the chance to students, or giving students a chance to do their own research, find a person or a group that they're passionate about that's doing work to fight hate, whether it's Jews or another group of people. I think it's very important that students learn that like they have a voice, even though they're 15, 16, 17, 18, they're not adults yet. They still have a voice and they can still make change using documentary and things like this.
Right.
And what I think is wonderful is the people who said yes to speaking to them, who didn't say, oh, these are students,
Right.
but really took the time, so that the documentaries in each case are an interview, and then also the students use their own creativity. They didn't just have a documentary just with a speaking head. They also did they produced a documentary with other information around the speaker. And that really required them to just be so creative in how to tell this. I call it a story. It is a story, a fictional story, but how to engage their audience with this important information that they were learning. So there were a lot of benefits. And I will say that we also were we were passionate about teaching them about copyright. I was lucky enough to have a copyright attorney from Beverly Hills speak to them by Zoom, so that we didn't, use any material that we couldn't use, because we didn't want these documentaries not to be able to be seen. And we talked about storytelling, and Luke Berryman from The Ninth Candle, who Evelyn and I have interviewed, talked to them about research, and he gave them some tips about how to research different topics. So we tried to give them a extra information also to make their documentaries as strong as possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a big thing, was just they had to come up with a story. I told them this is not a research project, it's not a presentation. You have to come up with a beginning, middle, and end, and some kind of focus and a way to get your viewers to engage in this person, in this story, and what they're doing in their work.
I think you should say that again, how to get their viewers to engage in the story. So the goal was not just for the students to engage, but for their viewers to engage.
Yeah, the whole goal of this program was that their work will eventually be put out into the world, whether it's YouTube, film festivals, things like that. And so their work will be seen by others, and they had to craft their story with that in mind, that they're trying to persuade people to know more about Jews and what they can do to help.
Do you have any last thoughts, any suggestions for digital media instructors, or just students in general who want? How do we encourage more students to take on these projects?
Just get administration on board. I think it's easier than you think it is. To go to your school administration and be like, I want to do this project. Not only are they making documentaries, but they're learning about how to fight hate against Jews. And I think it was pretty easy in our district to get admin on board. I'm sure you can speak to that too, Phyllis. But yeah, I think just speaking to admin and telling them the huge benefit that these students can have with this kind of project.
And people can actually contact me if they want. I could to get connected about just advice and how you can do this, how we actually pitched it to the school administration. But I do have to say that having grown up when I was mostly the only Jewish kid in my classes, I can't tell, and didn't really know who Jews were in this town, and in many cases still don't, that this was an amazing project. I mean, it's an amazing project for students anywhere, but to understand that these students who were not predisposed to be so invested in this project got invested says something about what young people can do when they're given the tools. Can I say, is that the right word? And the encouragement.
Yes, absolutely.
So Brian,
Yeah.
we thank you so much for being that encouraging beacon. We hope other people will be, and other places will be motivated to try this, to do this, not try this, to do this with their students. And we thank our listeners. For those of you who want to know more about Evelyn and myself and our show, you can go to our Never Again Is Now podcast channel on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And as we say when we end every show, please, without putting yourself in physical harm, speak up against anti-Semitism and all hate.